Hey guys, I'm just gonna go over the transition from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from the Old Covenant to the New Covenant. And the most talked about change, obviously, is that Jesus changed the way that we need to submit and sacrifice to Him. So in the Old Testament, they actually used to have to sacrifice animals and shed the blood of a living animal in order to submit to God. And in the new covenant, Jesus died for us. He did the shedding himself so that we wouldn't have to shed blood. So when Jesus died on that cross, he shed the blood for us. He paid the fine. Now, that's why we don't have to make sacrifices and all that. So now I'm going to get into the laws and like what changed within the laws. And first off, I just want to say a lot of people think that the Ten Commandments are abandoned in the New Covenant, but that's not true at all, because Jesus goes over the Ten Commandments, if not multiple times throughout the New Testament. And not only does he go over them, but he goes more in depth and talks about he goes more into the spiritual meaning of those commandments. For example, whoever looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. And also, whoever hates his brother has, let me say that again, excuse me. Whoever hates his brother has already committed murder in his heart, right? So those are two examples. And then those are in the Sermon on the Mount, right? And then not only in the Sermon on the Mount does he cover the Ten Commandments, like some of the Ten Commandments, but he also covers them and goes more in depth throughout the New Testament. And not only the laws and the Ten Commandments does he go over, but in Leviticus there's laws, and there's laws throughout the entirety of throughout the Old Testament. Like essentially they're all covered in the Ten Commandments, but then there's other laws that like add depth to the laws of the Ten Commandments, if you're getting me, right? So, all right, so like there's a lot of laws in Leviticus that are still applicable today in the new covenant. We still have to obey most of these laws, right? And here's one: do not eat any meat with the blood still in it. That law is not covered in the new covenant. Not only that, but the reason why that law applies is it also has to do with the way that they used to sacrifice animals. You don't have to sacrifice animals anymore. So not only is it like not covered, but it just, the sacrifice being taken away doesn't cover that law anymore, right? So, and then there's like a lot that are still covered. So here's a big one, right? 20 verses 13. It talks about the act of homosexuality. It says, if a man has sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is distasteful. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. So there's a lot of people that don't think this law is abandoned in the New Testament, but in fact, it's covered 3, if not 4 or more times in the New Testament, as of what I found, right? And there's a lot of people that think that the gay law was the homosexual sin was abandoned in the New Testament, but no. And my heart mourns for those who do think that. And so not only that sexual law is kept in the New Testament, but also the laws of incest. Let me see. If a man marries his sister, if a man has relations with their aunt, and I don't know about this one. Okay, I don't know if this one still applies. I've done the research to the ones I'm talking about, right? But this one, if a man has sexual relations with a woman during her monthly period, I don't know if that one still applies. But so incest. And here's the thing, guys. Incest used to not be a law, right? Because Adam and Eve, when they had children, they had to have sex with each other in order to populate. Incest wasn't a thing back then because God had never made the law for that to be a thing. And like not only their children, but generations after, they continued to have sex with like close family, which today would be considered incest. It wasn't a sin back then because, first of all, it wasn't a law, and also like they had to in order to like populate, right? And homosexuality, like it's always been a sin, because since in the beginning, man was made, right? And then God created him a companion that was compatible with him, that worked with the man. She was compatible, right? Their parts were compatible with each other. That's why when a man ejaculates, it searches for the egg, right? And the woman contains the egg. And so that homosexuality has been, to not do it has always been a law, right? And it still is in the New Testament because it's covered. And then, so like up until the point where incest was made, it wasn't a sin because it wasn't a thing, right? And then this meat one, right? Like, thank goodness it's not a required law anymore, because I'm trying to think like what else is in a, so like the meat isn't a law. Oh, do not mate different kinds of animals. I'm pretty sure that's still a law, right? Yeah. Most of these are still kept, in fact. They still they're like, I read these and they're just like what the Ten Commandments already say. Like, you just already draw those to be so close to the Ten Commandments. Anyways, so like, thank goodness the meat one isn't in effect, because like, how can you make proper gains without eating meat? Like y'all know that you can't make proper muscle gain when you're a vegan. Okay, I'm sorry, like I'll stop there, but yeah, so the meat, someone asked me, why do you eat this kind of meat? It's in the Bible. And I explained to them how the new covenant abandoned that law. And also a different person they asked me, well, they didn't ask me, but they said the Ten Commandments don't apply to the new covenant. And I told them that they do. They're mentioned in the new covenant. And not only that, there you go. Jesus goes into spiritual detail about those commandments. So yeah, just wanted to give you guys a brief overview from old to new, from the Old Testament to the New Testament. And yeah, thanks for listening. Stay blessed. God bless you guys. Just have a good night. Talk to you guys later. Or whenever you watch this, like, I'm recording this, I'm probably not going to upload it till the morning. And like, honestly, most of you probably aren't watching, even if you even started to watch. But like, yeah. Y'all already know. Anyways, have a good night, guys.